This is Super Yacht News with Sisman.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to episode 300 of Super Yacht News. Now we've made 260 episodes of those 300 episodes of Super Yacht News since March 2022. So in just under 2 years, we've done 260 episodes. It's quite incredible. A milestone doesn't really mean anything, just 300 episodes. So anyway, we'll move on to our first story. The London lawyer who misappropriated a $25 million trust fund, which he was placed in charge of, belonging to a princess from Saudi Arabia, has been ordered to repay £30 million in the UK, which is about $37 million. Ronald Gibbs, the once partner at one of Britain's most prestigious law firms, was hired to set up a trust fund for Saudi Princess Dima bin Sultan in 2011. Her intention was to purchase a property in Paris, but then she changed her mind, leaving the money in the trust fund. Mr. Gibbs, a former partner with Linklaters, then used the money to buy, amongst other things, a super yacht with the value of almost £20 million, which he and his family used as his personal yacht. Mr. Justice Culver slammed Gibbs' conduct as reprehensible and ordered him to pay back the princess's investment and damages. The lawyer for the princess, Mr. Attrell, said he has never paid a penny of what he owes, all the while spending millions on his super yacht and his yacht building business, maintaining his multinational property empire and making significant sales of assets, generating millions of pounds that he directed elsewhere than to the claimant. After agreeing to liquidate the fund in 2018 and not doing so, Mr. Gibbs claimed the settlement agreement allowed him to continue to manage the portfolio and liquidate it over time, and that he had no liability to ensure the princess gets back at least her original investment. He also said, "You can't get blood out of a stone. There's no point asking me to pay the funds that I don't have." Now, the yacht was arrested in Spain after non-payment of various local companies whilst in a refit in 2022-23. Also, we reported that he took out a loan against the yacht and the bank seized the asset, but we've not been unable to independently verify that information. If that is the case, if the vessel was seized by the bank, then the princess is not looking good for the princess in getting any of the money back for that yacht. Anyway, we'll keep you updated on that story. And we'll move on to our next story now. This is about Panama Canal. You might have seen some reporting on this recently, talking about climate change. We wanted to tell you one of the other things that's not widely being reported about the reason why the water levels are dropping. There's a crisis in the Panama Canal as water levels have dropped to critical levels and the lowest in decades. But that doesn't mean there aren't opportunities to make money, as shippers are paying up to $4 million to jump the queue. Usually as many as 36 to 40 vessels can transit the 50-mile or 80-kilometer waterway per day, but water levels in the interior lakes are so low that that number has dropped to 24, with even lower numbers predicted as the water levels drop. Now, unlike the Suez Canal, that's all on sea level, the Panama Canal raises vessels up about 85 feet above sea level through a series of locks. They sail through Gatun Lake, which is an artificial freshwater lake that also contributes to a percentage of clean drinking water in Panama. Panama Canal in 2023 has seen the lowest rainfall in almost 100 years. Ilia Espina de Marata, the canal's chief sustainability officer, said to the BBC that 2023 has been the second driest year in the history of the Panama Canal. She went on to say that the drought was made even worse by the El Niño weather phenomenon and is expected to last until May, which is when traditionally the rainy season starts. Now, the water level in Gatun Lake is 5 feet lower than it usually is at this time of year. Now, the experts are blaming the situation on, amongst other things, climate change. There is sort of a design flaw with the locks. That means most of the water used on each vessel to transit the canal is lost on each side of the canal. Well, how is the water lost, I hear you say? Well, it takes almost 200 million litres of water to pass a ship through the locks, and most of that water is lost into the ocean once the gates open. The newest locks are able to recapture about 60% of that water and feed it back into the canal. However, the old locks, which are still predominantly used, only recapture about 20%. Now, the design most likely accounts for the fact that the lake is a freshwater lake which supplies Panama with drinking water, And now obviously once it mixes with the ocean water, it gets salt in it, and they would have to refilter that water. So a filtration system would need to be used to prevent contamination of the fresh water. So they have relied on the rainy season to refill the lake every year. That's been pretty good for 100 years, right? And what are the alternatives for ships instead of transiting the Panama Canal? Well, there's only really sailing around the Horn of South America, which would add weeks and about 20,000 kilometers to any vessel's trip. A lot of cost obviously involved in that. Now the rainy season can't come fast enough, usually May to December. Last year in 2023, the rains didn't come, and that's why we're in this situation right now. So let's hope when it rains, it pours this year in Panama. All right, we'll move on to our next story. As mentioned in yesterday's short news video, dismantling of the ex-Navy torpedo retriever Chaparral is ongoing in Maui. New footage taken by Guy Lawrence and Brett Tossell show diggers around the vessel, which was built in 1975. The plan to try to use the diggers to pull the vessel closer to the road where the trucks are that will take away the cut up sections of the vessel. That was the plan. Now the vessel ran aground a few weeks ago and has been stuck there ever since. Now the DLNR had to take over recovery as the owner did not have insurance to take care of it, which is curious. There's quite a few comments on the previous videos saying that it's an insurance job, but the owner didn't have any insurance, so clearly it's not an insurance job. Now, if you want to see more details about that from yesterday's video, I'll put a link in the top corner here. One of our guys on the ground, Guy Lawrence there, spoke to one of the salvage crew members, and he said that the boat was too heavy as is to move. 3 excavators could not lift and pull it closer to the road. It was then decided to remove both of the engines and try again. So they are now busy removing the engines to try and make the vessel lighter, to be able to move it, to make it easier for them to cut the vessel up. Obviously, we'll keep you updated on that story. All right, it's Friday Yotspot time. We've got a few yachts to look at today, Titania being the first one. This was taken in St. Lucia by Guy Richards. Titania is owned, according to SuperYacht Fan, by John Cordwell. He's a British billionaire who owned the now defunct mobile shop chain Phones For You in the UK. Titania is a 73 metre or 239 foot yacht built by Lürsen in Germany in 2018, and it was recently refit according to the website. The yacht is a charter vessel which can be chartered for the princely sum of €615,000 a week. And the second yacht we've got here is motor yacht Artefact, taken in Silo Marina in Auckland, New Zealand. I was there actually in Auckland a few years ago for about 6 months on a boat while we were laid up there. Really took a liking to Auckland and New Zealand actually. Artefact is owned by Mike Lazarus, who brought us the Blackberry amongst other things. Built in 2020 by Nobis Krug in Germany, and it's worth about $150 million. Now the crew rave about this yacht, saying that the owner made the crew areas very nice for them. That certainly deserves a shout out for the owner, because not every yacht owner does that. In my experience, the majority don't give the crew much thought when it comes to how much space and facilities they give them. In fact, legislation had to be written to make yacht owners install a gym for crew on yachts, as they were not doing it without that legislation. And think about it, even people in prison have access to a gym. Anyway, Laurie Haywood sent in the photos of Artefact, so appreciate that. He also told me that there are always large boats there, and he emphasized the word boat, as he said they are not yachts because yachts have sails. Well, Laurie, if you're watching, sailing yachts have sails, yes, but motor yachts have, well, motors. Now, the longest I waited for my pay was 4 months straight without receiving any money. 4 months with no pay. Look out for the new feature we've got coming on Sunday. This is a good one. It took us a lot of time to put this together. Got some very interesting, funny stories about working in the industry and getting paid, or not, as the case may be, plus other stories from the superyacht industry. Might be of interest also if you're hoping to one day work in the industry. What I'm going to be doing in this series of vlogs is recording the journey across the Atlantic. All right, don't forget to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/eSysman. You'll find many videos not featured on YouTube, including our Atlantic vlog series and the Patreon chat series. We've done quite a number of new Patreon chat series recently have been uploaded to the Patreon page. You also find behind the scenes footage of our trips to superyacht marinas all over the world. And don't forget to watch our podcast. You can find it at Yacht Report Podcast on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. All right, guys, if you've got any information for us about any stories or any of the stories here or any other stories, please be sure to get in touch in the normal fashion. You can get us in the email address in the ticker. You can get us on the About page of the YouTube channel. You can get us on Instagram, on Facebook Messenger, on Twitter, and on Threema. Be sure to like this video, very important for the algorithm. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for future notifications. All right, guys, whatever you're doing this weekend, I hope you have a great one. Bye-bye.